Well, welcome here this morning. A warm welcome to those that are visitors among us. It's great to have you here with us this morning. We are in the middle of the greatest sermon ever preached, Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. And in this sermon, Jesus opens our eyes to see what the kingdom life is all about, what the kingdom life looks like, and how we can be involved in the kingdom life. And it's good for us as individuals. It's good for us as a community. A life that is free from anger and lust. A life that is leaning towards greater truthfulness, greater faithfulness. And you remember last week, we talked about the center of this sermon, that prayer, this living relationship with the one that Jesus calls his Father. And that you and I are invited into this. And I challenged you to pray in this week. So how did we do in this week? Crickets. Oh, man. All right. Were you able to use that prayer? Did it work? Was it helpful? Okay. Maybe you... I'll tell you about my experience. For me, it was good. It was challenging. My thoughts tend to focus around my agenda and my concerns, and to lift my eyes again to see what the great concern of the Father's heart, that his name is made great, that his kingdom would come, that his will would be done, helps to see my needs, the things that are going around in my life in light of what God is on about, and to be submitted to his will. And I would just want to encourage you to keep on praying, that through the prayers of the people, God's kingdom comes. The kingdom of our Christ becomes the kingdoms of this world. And so this morning, Jesus takes a look and he tells us how to put the kingdom in the center of our finances. Now, if you're a guest here, welcome here. If you've already put like in on your Facebook, thank you. Because we're going to be talking about something that's a little bit more personal. Nobody likes to have somebody else's hands in their pockets. But Jesus challenges us to put the kingdom in the center of our finances, because Jesus loves us, because he wants us to be free, because he wants us to live the fullness of life, the kingdom of life. And wealth has a way of tangling us up. You see, we live in the richest generation that has ever walked on this planet. And we live arguably in the richest continent on this earth. And yet, instead of our lives being marked by happiness and joy, contentment and fulfillment, lives around us are marked with dissatisfaction, with anxiety. And the answer to that is to get more. More stuff, more possessions, more and more, and yet it doesn't work. And so Jesus comes to us and he says, listen, let me show you another way. Martin Luther said that we need a conversion, that people need 3 conversions. They need a conversion of the heart, a conversion of the head, and a conversion of the purse. And I think that most of us are converted in our hearts, that we love Jesus and we know his love for us. Many of us are converted in our heads, that we trust that Jesus knows what he is talking about, that he is smart, and that we can lean in on what he says. But the question that Jesus faces us with this morning is that will you and I trust him with our wallets? Will we allow the kingdom to be at the center of our finances? Now, many of you do. And like TLC is an overflow. And thank you for your generous giving in caring for this family here, in the sending forth of the gospel and participating in the Great Commission. Some of you may have never thought about it before, that Jesus wants to be Lord over your finances. And some of you have thought about it and then forgot about it so that you can get on with the rest of life. But Jesus, because he loves us, he comes to us and asks, will you trust me? Will you put your weight on me? Will you put your money where your mouth is? So I invite you to open up your Bible. We're at Matthew chapter 6. We're going to be looking starting at verse 19. Now, he gives us three paragraphs. And Jesus really speaks to us clearly here and logically. In each paragraph, there's two choices. There's an either or. It's a great kind of multiple choice, right? There's only two choices out there. So each one of these paragraphs has two. And we begin this tale of twos with treasure, two different kinds of treasure. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroy and where thieves do not break in and steal. Jesus gives a great insight into human nature, into the human heart, that you and I are treasure hunters. That you may not have the hat or the whip of Indiana Jones, but you and I at heart are treasure seekers. That every human seeks after what is precious, what is valuable, what is of great worth. And Jesus doesn't say, do not desire treasures. No, he doesn't say that desiring treasures is a sin, desiring treasures is evil. No, that's Buddha. Buddha says that, you know what, eliminate your desires. That's the way to happiness. But Jesus, he knows our heart. He knows that we desire treasure. We desire. He knows that we are wired to seek after what is precious, that we are created to want what is of great value. So Jesus doesn't cancel our desire. He redirects it. And he doesn't say that desiring treasure is bad. He doesn't even say that desiring treasure for yourselves is bad. What he warns against is laying up treasure for yourselves in the wrong place. He says, don't be foolish. Lay it up in the right place, not on earth, but in heaven. So what is treasures on earth? Do not lay up treasures on earth. What are these treasures? Well, they're treasures that circulate, that orbit around our life here. Our life in the here and now. Our reputation, our image, success, security, comfort, luxury. And often these are affected by possessions, by our wealth. And so we're willing to exchange our time for wealth, to seek after that which we truly value. And so people are willing to squeeze out their generosity in order to retire at age 55. Or people are willing to squeeze out Sunday morning services in order to get another day of work in so that the company can grow. People are willing to squeeze out time with their children in order to provide for their kids' college tuition. Now, there's nothing wrong with work. In fact, the Bible says that we're workers and it is good and right to work. And it is good and right to provide for your family. But parents, what's most important, what's more important for your kids than their college tuition, than a trust fund, is a relationship with their mom and with their dad. And what your kids need most of all is a relationship with Jesus. Don't lay up treasures for yourself on earth, focused on your comfort, your image, your success, your reputation. Jesus says, don't do it because it's not safe. Moth eat, rust destroys, thieves steal. All of us have had stuff that is broken down, that is worn out, that has been stolen. And what's more, we are breaking down. If our treasures don't break down, our bodies will. You and I one day will die. And that bumper sticker says it. He who dies with the most toys still dies. We can't take it with us. In fact, the only thing that we can take with us is our soul. So to chase after treasure and to be fixed on that, it's not safe. In 79 AD, there was a great volcanic eruption around the city of Pompeii. And it came down so quickly that the ashes and the lava preserved people and images there. And as they were excavating, one interesting one they came across was a woman whose feet are pointed toward the city gates, but whose head is turned backwards and her arm is reached out behind her. What is it that's so important that she's risking her life for? It's a bag of pearls. Don't invest in earthly treasures. It's not safe. But invest in heaven, Jesus says. So how do we invest in these heavenly treasures? You don't find it on the New York Stock Exchange. Well, you invest in heaven is where the Father is. You invest in your relationship with the Father. You spend time in your scriptures. You spend time in prayer. You invest in relationships with other people. Paul puts it clear to us in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 17, writing to the rich. He says, "As for the rich in this present age, charge them not to be haughty, nor to set their hopes on the uncertainty of riches. It's not safe. But set your hope on God, who richly provides us with everything to enjoy." They are to do good, to be rich in good works, to be generous and ready to share, thus storing up treasure for themselves as a good foundation for the future, so they may take hold of that which is truly life. This word here, storing up treasure, that's the same words that we see in Matthew's gospel. Store up treasures. How? How do we invest into heaven? Here, do good, be rich in good works, be generous, and be ready to share. Look around to where you can be a blessing and do it. Listen to what the concerns are around you and get involved. This is the way we invest our time, our talent, and our treasures into the kingdom to come, into heavenly treasure. Jesus says this is a safe investment. And not only is it safe, boy, it's a blockbuster investment. This is a blue chip investment. It is an investment that has great dividends. See, every time you invest in property and possessions, they decay. It's not safe. But when you invest in people, that's an investment that has returns, because a person touches another person and touches another person, and this impact continues on. Take, for example, Ed Cooper. Now, many of you know Ed Cooper. He grew up in a non-Christian home. But somewhere along the line, somebody invested into Ed and told him about Jesus. And Ed came to know Jesus as precious. And Ed went on and invested into others. Many men here, youth, young adults, older fellas, they have been impacted by Ed's life. Two of these are Brian and Ryan. And these guys have gone on to impact other youth, other young adults. Do you see that one investment into Ed continues to pay dividends, continues to go forward? That's how it is with these kingdom investments. They are safe and they are good. And church, that's what we're involved in. That's what we do together. See, every time you give, you are investing into people. And when you give, you're investing into people to know Jesus. And so we're able to run the Alpha program. When you give, you're investing into people to know the wholeness and healing that only Jesus can bring. And so we run the freedom sessions. And if you can talk to some of the people who have been in that. When you invest, when you give, you're investing into families serving together. And so we're hoping to send a team to SOAR X in February, and into another team to go to the Okanagan. Those are the investments we make together. We want to invest in the next generation. Can I just ask those that are 21 or younger, if you guys could stand up, you could stretch out your legs. If you're 21 or younger, come on. Come on, don't be shy. Just there. Just take a look at this. That's awesome. Okay, you guys can sit down. I know you don't like to be the center of attention. You know what, though? We want you to go further with the gospel than we have gone. We want to invest in you to carry this great commission the next step. That's what we want for you. And you can change things. You can change the chairs. You can change the lights. You can change the music. Not yet, but you can. You can. But what you cannot change, and what continues on, what remains at the center of it, is the gospel. That Jesus came to save sinners, you and me. And that Jesus calls us to follow him with all his heart, with all our heart, no matter what the cost. I am glad to be part of a church that wants to see the next generation go further than this generation. Investing in people. Because where your investments are, there your heart will be. Verse 21, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Your heart is tethered to your treasure and not vice versa. You see, sometimes I hear people say, you know what, my heart is in the right place. I'm going to go out and make a lot of money. I'm going to get to the top of the corporate ladder. Then I'll be able to have influence. Then I'll be able to affect structures and companies. Then I'll be able to give radically to the poor, to missions. Jesus says, no. Where your treasure is, your heart will be. When you set your heart on making it, on becoming rich, on becoming a success, your heart takes a hard left and follows after your treasure. I've seen it. Your heart follows your treasure. And so, and what happens is that as you look at treasures, your heart desires it and you get some, and then you want more and you get more and you want more and you get more, and it becomes this vicious cycle of always getting but never being satisfied. A German philosopher, Arthur Schopenhauer, he said that wealth is like seawater. The more you drink, the thirstier you become. And so Jesus gives us here clearly two choices. You can heap up treasure for yourself on earth, always getting but never being satisfied, and lose it all in the end. Or you can store up treasures in heaven, investing in your relationship with God and your relationship with others, using your time and your talents and your treasures in others' lives, and enjoy this life and look forward to the life to come. Two treasures. Then Jesus moves on and talks about two eyes. The eye, verse 22, the eye is the lamp of the body. So if your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light in you is darkness, how great is the darkness? What are you talking about, Jesus? What does this have to do? What is this passage right in the middle of something on wealth? Well, let me explain. This room is filled with light. And if you have a healthy eye, you can see. The light comes in, you can see, you can walk around without bumping into somebody, tripping. If your eye is not working, it doesn't matter how much light there is on the outside, you can't see. And so you walk in the dark. What does that mean? Well, this word for a healthy eye is this word haplos, which means single, which means focused. An eye that is focused on Jesus and focused on his kingdom is able to have light come in so that you can see your own heart, that you can evaluate what is going on, that you know the direction of life and you can walk in this direction. That's the healthy eye. But the bad eye is this word for evil eye. And an evil eye in Palestine was an idiom for a greedy eye, a stingy eye. I get that right out of Proverbs chapter 28, verse 22. A stingy man hastens after wealth and does not know that poverty will come upon him. And there's a footnote there by stingy man. It says, a man whose eye is evil. See, you were considered to have an evil eye if your eye was for your possessions ahead of people. And if your eye is bad, you can't see what's going on inside of you. Jesus says that as a result of a stingy eye, you don't even know your condition. That a symptom of greed is that you don't think that it's a problem in your life. Now, most of us would say that we don't struggle with greed. You know, we got other issues that we're working on, but greed, not really. And the reason is we know somebody who is richer, who has a bigger salary, a bigger house, better toys. They should be here for the sermon, not me. But what this eye does is we don't see how rich we truly are, that you're richer than you think. In 2018, Credit Suisse did a report on the wealth of people throughout this world. And according to their report, to be in the top 50%, the 50% of richest people in the world, you had to have a net worth of $5,200. That was the top 50. In order to be in the top 10%, you needed to have a net worth of $120,000. Your assets minus your liabilities, your debts, and $120,000, you were in the top 10%. And in order to be in the top 1%, you needed a net worth of $1.1 million. See, we are rich, and we suffer from this bad eye. And so we don't ask ourselves those hard questions about, is it fair that I make this much money? Do I really need to have 5 streaming services? Should we spend so much on our vacation? The bad eye blinds us to questions of generosity. How can I give more away? How can I give more to the poor? Give more to the church? Give more to my friends? The blind eye. But our money talks. A couple years ago, there was a biographer who found the ledger of the Duke of Wellington. And he said he could write a better biography of this Duke because he had seen where the Duke had invested his money. He said the ledger reveals more than merely his speeches and his letters. That you can know a person's heart more through their credit card statement than through their conversations. What does your statement say? And what it calls us to is toward this financial accountability, where we can open up our books to somebody else and say, is the way that I am living, is the way that I am spending honoring to Jesus? And that's hard. I heard of a Christian accountant who would do books for his friends. And I heard one time he said, you know what, you really should be giving more. Might be the last time that guy. That's that tension, right? The guilt versus free tax work. But how do we do this? Now, if this makes you uncomfortable, welcome to West Portal. We don't talk about what we want to hear, but what Jesus says. Because we believe that Jesus wants what's best for us, that he guides us into this way of life, so that we can work on our eye. Because there is something worse than somebody knowing your financial story, and that's getting lost in the dark. If then the light in you is darkness, how great is the darkness? See, West Portal, we're among the wealthiest people that have ever walked on this planet. We don't think that we could live any simpler or be any more generous. The good eye, the focused eye, and the greedy eye. 2 eyes. And these 2 sights lead us to two masters. 2 masters. Verse 24. No one can serve 2 masters. For either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. There's another insight into the human heart, that everybody serves something, that you and I are incurably religious, that we all worship something. We have one ultimate in our life. Whether it's your spouse, your family, your boss, your vacation, your bank statement, whatever it is, and it's not necessarily bad, but it is the ultimate that determines the rest. And Jesus doesn't say here, you know what, it's a bad idea to have 2 masters. He doesn't say, well, you really shouldn't have 2 masters. He says you cannot. It's impossible. It is impossible to serve God and money. You can only have one master. You can't be fully devoted to God and moonlight for mammon. That's the word that's here in the Greek. It's mammon, which is an Aramaic word that talks about wealth and possessions, and it gets personified and deified. And what Jesus is saying here is that money is actually not neutral, that it has a power, and it's a negative power. It has a power to pull us into its orbit, and that it affects our sight, it affects our dreams. It promises hope and a future. It promises security. And as we come into the clutch of mammon, it changes us to be more like it, that we become like what we worship. In Psalm 115, the psalmist writes about this. He says, their idols are silver and gold, the work of human hands. They have mouths but do not speak, eyes but do not see. They have ears but do not hear, noses but do not smell. They have hands but do not feel, feet but do not walk, and they do not make a sound in their throat. They're idols. They're dead. They have no life in them. But listen to their effect. Those who make them become like them, and so do all who trust in them. We become like what we worship. We're changed. If we worship gold and silver and the almighty dollar, we become like it. Cold, hard, calculating, using people for profit, always measuring things by the bottom line. Jesus says there's 2 masters. You'll only serve one of them. Is it God or is it mammon? 2 choices. 2 treasures, 2 eyes, 2 masters. Well, where do we go from here? How do we seek after the right treasure? How do we reorient our heart? How do we break the Midas curse? 1, look to Jesus. That's where it begins. It always begins with Jesus. Look to Jesus, that he is precious. You see, the one who speaks these words to us is also the one who's come to bring these words into effect, to save us. Look at Jesus, that he is precious and that he considers you precious. See, Jesus was willing to leave his treasure, willing to leave heaven and come down and become a servant for you. Because you're worth it. Because you are precious. Every master wants to maximize their profits by working their slaves, but only one master gave his life to save his servants. Only Jesus. When we look at Jesus, the hold of whatever else decreases and our hearts move towards him. So look at Jesus. Remember what he has done. That's number one. And number two, retrain your heart by giving. Your heart, where your treasure is, there your heart will be. Your heart follows your treasure. And this can work in that vicious cycle of getting and wanting and getting and wanting, but it can also work in a virtuous cycle. That as we look at Jesus, and we say, yes, I want more. I will invest into that. We find that our hearts are freer. And we look and we want more and we invest and we live freer. And we are freer to give, freer to live, freer to love. So invest. Invest in your relationship with your Heavenly Father. Spend that time in prayer and in scripture reading. If you need a good tool, if you're just starting off on this, Our Daily Bread is a great tool to begin. Spend 5 minutes by your breakfast table or your dinner table. One of the ones that was impacting on my life was my utmost for his highest. It's a great little devotional. Invest in your relationship with their Father, and you'll find that your heart leans more and more in that direction. Invest in others. Invest in your relationship with others. If you're not part of a small group, why not? And if you are, listen to the concerns that are around you and be involved, whether it's financially, giving of your time or your talents or your treasure. Get involved, and you'll find that your heart moves along, that you love the people in your group more as you care for them, as you think about them. And invest into what God is doing here at West Portal with your time and your talents and your treasure. And you'll find that your heart moves in that direction as well. You get excited about what this family is doing, how this family is impacting outside of these walls, how the gospel is going forth into the far corners of this world. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be. So invest in heavenly treasures. Listen, Jesus comes to us and he says, put the kingdom at the center of your finances. And he says this because he loves us. He wants us to live that kingdom life. So let's follow Jesus with our heart, our head, and our wallet. Amen? Amen. Let's pray. Well, Father, you are good and you are great. And Jesus, we thank you for who you are, the one who has come to talk to us, to reveal the Father's heart so that we might know who we are, we might know what we are called to, we might know who our Father is. And Jesus, we are sorry. We heartily confess where our heart has been in the wrong place, where we have sought after those things we thought would bring us happiness and fulfillment outside of you, where we have put something else in that first place. Jesus, clean our eyes again that we can see you, that we can believe in you, and we can walk in your way. And Lord, help us in this week as we come across those in need around us. May your word resonate within us, and may you find in us willing servants who jump in, who get involved with their times and their gifts, with their money and with their lives. Lord, we thank you for the gift of your life that you gave for us, and the gift of life that we have, the gift of everlasting life in you. Lord, continue to set our eyes and our hope on that. We ask in Jesus' name. Amen.